Hello and welcome. Today we are going to go ahead and take a look at the Bluefin. So this particular ship is going to be the next of my safari ships. This means that it has to go ahead and have an armory, an infirmary, and be able to sleep a minimum of 4 people. Additionally, it has to be a Class A ship and requires 0 ranks of Starship design. This particular one, I was just building a little bit, trying to experiment a little bit with some shapes that I can make, and it looked kind of like a fish or a teardrop, so I decided to lean into that, and that's why it's now the bluefin, because it reminded me of a tuna. Probably should have gone for like a side stripe instead of the top stripe, but you can always play more with paint later. As we can see, my rover has issues here at my outpost. We're going to proceed to ignore that now. And let's go ahead and start with an interior tour. So, very first thing that you see when you come in is you are going to enter into the armory. This is going to be the Stroud Armory. And then right up front you can see here is our docker. Before we go back, we might as well hop up because up here we have a Nova Galactic control station. Forward, we get to the cockpit, which is just going to be whatever Tayo cockpit you like the most. They are all absolutely identical. Coming back here, we enter into the Tayo 2x2 all-in-one berth. You can see we've got a bathroom over here, a galley right over here. Over here we have our 4 beds. And then right over here through the door, we come into the Stroud Infirmary. So you can see that there's not very far that you have to go from the entrance into the infirmary in case you're injured. And then in the back, we have the captain's quarters. And this is going to be the Tayo captain's quarters. And that is the interior tour. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at how to build this ship. So what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to select it all and then delete it. And then I'm going to build the habitable portions. So I have the Hope 4 landing gear. Directly on top of that, let's come on down to the Stroud, and I'm going to choose the Stroud Armory. Behind that, I'm going to go ahead and choose the Tayo 2x2 all-in-one. Then come on back over to Stroud for the Infirmary. On the back of this, now I'm going to come back down to Tayo, and I want the 2x1 mid, and we're going to make that the captain's quarters. And then finally up here, I went with Nova Galactic, but you can use any 2x1 that you want for the control station. Alternatively, if you don't want a control station here, this could be any other 2x1 hab. Now to finish off the habitable space, I'm going to go ahead and come over here and choose the docker and then the cockpit. So if you are looking at it as I am scrolling through all the pieces to build this, you will see that I am using a mod that unlocks all the ship parts here at my outpost. It will only unlock the parts that I have unlocked. So for instance, I cannot put the Vanguard weapons on these ships because I have not done the Vanguard questline yet on this playthrough. This mod is not needed at all. It just means that I don't need to go running around to the various locations to pick up all the pieces for building and experimenting with ships. Alright, so this is all the habitable portions of the ship. So now let's go ahead and start working on the bottom. First things first, let's go ahead and grab our reactor and grav drive. These are going here and here. Does not particularly matter which ones go where with this build. However, I'm going to go ahead and slap the 134 mm reactor right there, and then the grav drive right here. On this build, I use the R3000. You could also use the Helios 300. However, if you're using the Helios 300, it has to be located right here because I am actually clipping my cargo in on this location and this location on both sides. So if the grav drive is here, I don't need to worry about that, but if you put the grav drive here, we do need these side attachment points. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and put that cargo on now. So for this ship, I went with 4 200 cm ballast cargo holds, just located here, 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 and here. These are all going to be hidden under these shroud caps, so you will not be able to see them once the ship is built. It's just adding up more cargo, so we've got a bit over 1,200 cargo on the ship. Next, I'm going to go ahead and add the landing gear. So for this ship, I have 2 of the AccuLander 11s. And then you can either use a third AccuLander 11 here, or what I did, which is the Pinpoint 4G. These are virtually identical. Yes, this one technically gives you some more hull and also costs a little bit more, but it's really just what shape you want. Next up, right here, I'm going to go ahead and add my first engine, which is going to be an Ammon 3 engine. And that's right on the back of the ship here. Now that I've got all that in place, I'm going to come on over to the structural tab and start adding my shroud caps. So let's go ahead, place the first one here, and then we have to flip it in place with the flip glitch. If you do not have the flip glitch enabled, you will need to enable to build this ship. Copy that on over, flip, flip, and there we go. That is the bottom of the ship completed. Next up, let's go to the middle of the ship. And I'm going to go ahead and start by putting the shroud caps on. Right here. Let's do it this way. Shroud cap. And I want the D. I'm using the nose cap D because it has a weapon mount here. However, you could also use the C and not have that weapon mount. There's already plenty on the ship. It's just a matter of how many you want for your own purposes. Now that that's in place, coming over here, I'm going to go ahead and come on to the Nova, and I'm adding the thruster arrays here and here. Then behind that, I'm adding a porthole here and here. And coming back here, I'm going to come on down to the Nova parts. And I'm going to grab a pair of Nova cowlings. Then I'm going to pull these off because we're going to be putting some pieces on and then we're going to have to flip these back into place. So what I'm putting here is, first off, I'm going to add my fuel tanks. For this ship, I used a pair of M30 Ulysses fuel tanks. However, if you wanted to use basically any other one, you can, because they are being flipped and hidden under this Nova cowling. Next, I have added some additional engines here. You could go ahead and use one of the Ares DT engines here if you wanted. However, I used a pair of the White Dwarf 1020 engines. And then flip these back into place, flip, and we are done. All right, now that the middle layer is done, let's go to the top layer. I'm going to start by getting that. And then alright, and now that I have this, come on over to the structural tab again, and I'm going to choose the Stroud cowling. And then here I'm going to put the Stroud aft cap. Now that that's all in place, I'm going to pull this off because I'm going to hide my shield right under here. So for this ship, I went with the Deflector SG-30 shield, which is just a side mount, and then I'm hiding that under this cowling. Now, the last piece that we need to do before weapons is the tail section. So I'm going to pull this off, and then I'm going to start over here, and I'm going to start with the Deimos Spine D. Then, because the aft cap does not flip into place, I'm going to need to duplication glitch it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate the control station there, put that there, and then I'm going to copy it, push it down, cancel, and there we go. That is now in place. Next up, coming over here, I need to go ahead and pick a component that connects here and gives me a connection point on the back. So the two that do that for me are going to be the HopeTech pipes or the Nova engine struts. You can use whichever one you want. In the build, I use the HopeTech pipes, but they are basically identical for this purpose. Now that I have this here, I'm now going to select this, and I'm going to grab the Deimos tail. Underneath it, I'm going to grab the Deimos Skeg A, flip it to the aft variant, and that's that. Now I need to pull the pipes off, select this, and I'm going to go ahead and choose these Deimos Spine F. Now that that's in place, let's grab this again, pull it back in place, flip, flip. Nope, can't do a flip yet. All right, so let's go ahead and grab the Deimos Spine A first, and then we'll bring this back into place, flip, flip, and there we go. So this pipes here is what is holding the tail on the ship because the Skeg only has a top mount. So this is basically hanging off this tail and then connecting here because, again, this does not have a rear attachment point. If you wanted to use the Better Ship Snaps mod, you would be able to build this without the pipes needed here. Alright, so now that we have the ship, the last thing that we need to do is add our weapons. For this ship, I just went ahead and put on my usual favorites, which is 4 Disruptor 3300s. There we go. Now all we need to do is assign our weapons, and then paint the ship. So what I want to do is I'm going to start by painting the whole thing a darkish blue on lots of saturation. Darken that down some. And I am not being exact. I'm just getting it approximately how I want it. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a stripe down the middle, because I thought it looked cool. And this is all just going to be a lighter blue. I'll up the brightness. There we go. And now that this is all built, let's go ahead and take it out and get some pictures. You do see I do have a mobility of 55 and 28 light years jump range. If you wanted to use this ship more as a fighter or a hunter, you could easily bump that mobility up a lot just by removing the cargo. Okay, and now that we are here, we can see Aquila down there. And a whole lot of garbage. Somebody needs to send a garbage cleaner out here. And then there's Kodos. It's also really fun when you go ahead and it decides to put you in an orbit where you can look in a direction and you can see both planets at once. So, anyways, that is the Bluefin. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.